Hi, today we're going to cover the cab off on a F450. This is a 2005 model. Pretty much this is going to cover anything 2005 to 2007. The 0304 is very similar. There's a few little differences in between. This is F450 with a dump box, so this here it's pretty straightforward, but if you have a van or an excursion, I always pull the engine out. I've only ever done it in the body one time on a truck like this with the body on, and it was not really what I prefer. So I prefer to take the cab off, obviously, but if you are doing it in cab, that's not going to be covered, but this will cover cab off. Okay, we're going to start on the passenger side here. You want to undo your body ground on the side here, where on the passenger side fender. Start by taking that out. Also, you want to undo the positive cable here. We'll undo that. Take it off. This is part of your engine loom. We're going to tuck that back over. Go across and stay with the engine. Just kind of routed in behind the AC line there, so undo that, let that go with the engine. This is for the power lift box here. This runs off the side. That'll also go with the cab. And also this cable is going to go with the cab. Alright, so on the passenger side here, it's like to cover this up here. Under here you have this body ground here that has to come off. And then over here, now if you on your right, most of the trucks you'll find this vacuum line right here. It's going to be down over here, and it goes to your water, it goes to your coolant flow valve, and what that does is it shuts the coolant flow off to the AC box to make your AC more efficient. But on some of these F450s and 550s, they don't have that, so that's just on this little nipple here on your blower motor box. And yes, you can add that actually aftermarket if you'd like to make your AC work better. Also, we have your boost sensor here. We're gonna undo these three 10 mils here, and we're also gonna undo your hose down here off the intake and just swing this over here. That's gonna go up at the body.
All the videos? No one does them.
Yeah, no one does. I know. Now down here on the boost sensor, where it goes onto the manifold, it usually doesn't have this gear clamp on here. That's usually just a pinch clamp, but somebody's obviously lost that or broken it and just replaced it with that. So I'm just going to take that off and get this hose off here. Over here we have your starter cable. This goes down to the starter. You just pinch it. You kind of need two hands to do it, but you pinch this together. There, you did it with one hand. You pull this out. This goes right down to your starter for your starter solenoid. Passenger side, you take the coolant hose off. Bam. And then I just usually tuck it up over here by where the boost sensor would go, and then it just stays there and goes up with the cab. And like I said, that ground cable needs to come off there still. Also, since this has a dump box on it, we have to undo this one cable here that runs down to the motor. And I'm just going to take that and route it down onto the frame and just let that stay with the chassis. Okay, so the passenger side's done now. I took that cable down, that was there. That was for the, this has a dump box on the back of it. And that cable was for the dump box that goes to this relay here. Okay, we have our boost sensor off. Our transmission dipstick has been removed. Okay, I have not done the AC lines yet because we're waiting for the AC company to come in and evacuate the system. And also we have our battery cables laid over top of the engine on this side, and the ground cable that was attached up under there, right in that hole there, is now off and laid over top of the engine. We're doing a radiator on this as well. Usually I let the radiator go up with the cab, but what we're going to do is pull the shroud out. So all you do, I unloosen these two bolts here on this side, on the driver's side, and the two bolts on the passenger side clamp. And if you take the hose off here, then you can pull the whole shroud out as one assembly. There's an 8 mil on the top on each side of the fan shroud. You got to take out as well. We're going to take those out. And then there's one right over here as well on the passenger side. Also take that one out. What also helps too is usually this cable here is tucked in front of the rad to get more room to pull the rad back, to pull the shroud out. Is if you take the cable off from in behind here, you can lay it over top of the engine, and you can pull your shroud out a lot easier because you can pull your rad closer to the front of the truck. So yeah, we're gonna take the hose off here now. Just take it, and I just tuck it back, and I kind of hook it back there, get it to stay somehow down underneath the intake pipe there. Just hook it there, let it stay, and then with this loose like this, kind of need two hands to show it, but with this rad loose you can pull it back, take the pry bar underneath here like that, hook it under there, and then just pry the shroud up. Now with the fan shroud out and the upper rad hose is off and tucked down in under the intake pipe there, you want to go down below and have a look. You can see up here, can't see it that well, but you have your trans cooler lines. Now these are a quick disconnect style, and all you do is there's a retainer on it. You pull that retainer off. Just use your fingers, pull that retainer off, and then I'll show you in a minute. But there's a tool you stick in there, and you can pop that line out. So I'm on the driver's side under the cab right here, and I pulled that retainer off of this line right here. And that's where I'm going to insert the tool to pop the line out for your trans cooler. There's one on the driver's side of the rad and one on the passenger side over there. Make sure you pull those off. Alright, I'm looking up from the passenger side, and you put this line disconnect on here like that, and you push it in to the cooler line into the fitting. You push it in like that, push the line in a bit, I find helps a lot. Then you slide your disconnect in there, and then you can just grab the line. You have to pull it back a little sometimes, but you force it in. Sometimes it helps to use two hands. Anyways, you get the idea. You put that in there. I usually have a metal one that I use, but I'm substituting with this plasticky one. It's not as good, but I did do the driver's side with it. Let me just put the camera down for a second. Sorry, I had to use two hands. Alright, I had to use two hands on that, but when you insert your tool, push it all the way in for the disconnect, and you can just grab your trans line and then just pop it out. And make sure you have a drain pan below, because you will lose a little bit of fluid. While you're down here, you're going to want to undo your bottom rad hose as well. And you're going to lose a little bit of fluid here as well. This one, the clamp was a little short, so it came right off. And I'm just going to grab the hose, slide it off, and then make sure you have a drain pan below so you can catch some fluid. Now we're going to start on the driver's side. You want to start by removing your battery tray. Just take the bolts. I'll take them off and I'll leave them in the tray. You got two there on the bottom, and then over here on the frame rail on the side, you got two more right there. You're gonna just take them out. Here on the driver's side fender, you got your PCM, and now you're going to want to do the middle one here. So all you do is just you don't want to work it too hard and break it. If you have to, work it back and forth, go slow, pry it a little bit until it releases, and then pull it out. And also you have down here, okay, you have these connectors here as well that also go down to the end, that go to the engine. You're going to do this one, and then you're going to lay this harness across the engine. That, tuck it over here onto the engine. Now there's a little bit difference between the 05 and up compared to the 03 or the 04. On the 05 up, you have your ABS module is over here. On the early 03, early 04, you'll have it down here in the fender. Okay, On this one here, I just untake the 3 lines off, and I'm gonna lay it over with the engine. Now with these 3 lines taken off, we're just gonna take them, we'll pull them back, and we'll tie them over here to go up with the, we'll lay it across the engine, and these are gonna go up with the engine. I forgot to mention, this is an 05 model, so it does not have a mass airflow. It actually only has an intake air temp. So depending on what you have, you might have one of these connectors here that goes to the air box right here that might be capped. We're going to remove our power steering line here to the booster from the pump. We're going to make sure you use a holdback on this, okay, so you don't end up breaking the fitting off. That's what I mean by using a backup wrench on it. You want to just have 2 there so you can hold it back. So you're not going to twist your fitting off and then have to buy a power steering line, because that's actually a lot of money. Okay, so now we're at the point where we're going to take the bolt out of the steering shaft. But I just want to show you a trick that I do. Is I'll come around here, and you got a clock, what's called a clock spring in the steering wheel. And basically, which means when this shaft is disconnected, you can actually keep turning the wheel round and round and round. And if you do that though, or something happens, somebody gets in here and plays around, you will end up breaking the clock spring inside the steering wheel. And then your horn and your airbag usually won't work. So I usually just take the seatbelt like this, and I'll take it and I'll route it through the steering wheel at the bottom, and I'll clip it back into the buckle. And then that way the steering wheel can't be turned around. You're going to want to take your bolt out now for your steering column. Like I said, as long as you pull the truck in with the steering wheel straight, you should not have any issue with this. And going back together, you don't want to forget to put this bolt in. Make sure you put this bolt back together so your steering shaft doesn't come off. That'd be really bad if you had to tell a customer why they crashed their truck, or they see that the steering column came off. So once it's off, the bolt's out, I usually just take a pry bar down there, I pry the shaft off, and once it's off, you want to just take it, bam, and push it back up inside. And that way you're not going to have any issues with it catching or any issues like that. You don't want to get anything caught. I'll just take it, like I said, shove it back up inside, and now it's free to go up with the cab. Also down here, you have this line right here, this metal one, that goes to your power steering cooler. You want to take that off the gear and just lay that over. Take that off your steering gear and lay it over on the side, because it is going to go up with the cab. So this line here goes to your power steering reservoir, which goes down there onto your pump. Now I just take this line right here, I take the cap off the reservoir, pull the cap off, and I take this hose and I just route it into here, and I just let it sit in there. That's going to be good now. Take your final hose off your power steering gear here. This just goes up to your booster, and I just take it off down here at the gear. You're going to unscrew it, take it out, and you're going to do that clip down there. Undo it from its little holster, which is down here, and it's also going to go up. This is going to go up with the cab. Here, undo your transmission connector. This is for your TCM. Undo that, pull it off. This is going to stay down with the frame. And also down over here you have another connector right there. That connector also has to come off, and there's also these 2 other ones I tucked right here on the engine. Those also had to come off from all these connectors down over there. Before I forget, this hose here, it's for the heater box. You're going to want to separate this hose here, and I just usually route it over here and just tuck it up, and that's going to also go up with the cab. I'm videoing from down below. I'm looking up at our trans linkage. Now make sure your trans is in park, and then all I do for this is you can take a pry bar up in there, just go between the cable and the transmission, and you can just pop that off. And then up here, this clip, this plastic clip right there, that I'm about to touch with the pry bar here, right there, that clip, you slide that out, and then the cable can come out. press in on these tabs, and just bam, pop it backwards, and you can grab this. You might have to get some kind of a pry bar in there or something just to pry the clip back with. But that, now that that's out, bam, you can just pop your cable out. And I usually just leave it hanging, and it's never an issue, but just make sure when you're lifting the cab up that this doesn't get caught. And if in doubt, you can zip tie it up here just so it's not going to get caught. Your park brake cable on your driver's side, there's a little divot in there. So all you want to do is, I take a carbide bit or whatever, or maybe a punch, grind a little divot out, and you're just gonna, all you're gonna do is slide this cable out and pull it out through this opening. And then back over here on the frame, this right in here, I'll see if I can get a focus. There's two tabs on each side of that, and you just pinch them together and you can slide your cable back through the frame, which I'll show in a minute. And also you have your ABS sensor here you're going to want to do while you're down here. So you can just take it, just like any other connector, pinch it like this at the bottom, pinch it in. See, after I pinch these two tabs on this side, you can slide the e-brake cable back through this hole and just pull it through, feed it through like that. Once you have it out, bam, I just let it hang there. It's going to go up with the cab. So we have this cable right here. It goes into the cab here. This is right at the driver's door at the back. This is the controller for the dump box. So all I did was mark the wires back there at the motor, and I just routed it back past the frame, pulled it through the frame because this wire is going to go up with the cab. So this is not Ford. This is aftermarket, and this is something that it takes a little bit of extra time because we have to take it out and we have to deal with it. All right, on your passenger side, you're also going to have another ABS sensor right here that you're going to want to unplug. So you're going to unplug that. Bam. And you also, up here, you have a body ground, and I usually just take the bolt out. Take it out, and I'll take the bolt and I'll just put it back in once I get it out, and that way take the bolt to the body ground and put it back in. That way you don't lose it and you know where it is when you're going back together. Alright, we're now done with the top. You should have a mess that looks something like this. It's actually not as bad as it seems. Everything Ford actually unplugs. That's how they assemble it at the factory. They bring the frame down with the engine, and then they bring the cab down on top of it, and then they just connect everything. But it's really not that bad of a job, as long as you just take your time and make sure that you're not missing anything. And again, I still don't have the AC uncharged because we're just waiting for the AC company to uncharge the AC. But when they get here and do that, I will show what it looks like after that. You want to pull your AC line off of here. Pull that off of here. You need two hands to do it, but you pull that off and then you lay that over with the engine. Once the AC line's off, take it and hook it in the into the fan shroud here. That way it won't get caught when you go to lift the cab. Also, you have one more up front here. Just pull this back. Down in here, you're going to have this plastic shield. Just pull it towards the front of the truck. Unclip it. Once you unclip it, you can pull it out and then undo your 13 mil there and take that line and leave it with the engine. You pull it out here and lay it over top here, which I'll show in a minute. There's also a clip here on the AC lines that holds them together. You just use a pocket screwdriver over on the bottom. You separate it, take it out, and once it's off, and you got your 13 mil off there, you just pull this back, pull it through, out, and same idea. Just hook it up on the engine. And now we're ready to lift the cab. Okay, so now we're ready to take the cab off. Now, since this is only a single cab, we actually have 6 cab bolts all together. You're gonna have your ones that are up here, your ones that are under your driver's feet about here, and you'll have the ones behind the driver's, the front seat that's right here at the back of the cab. The ones under your drivers and passengers where your feet would be, you just reach up, pull the carpet back, and then bam, right there's your plug. You pull the plug out. If you need to, you can use a screwdriver or something. Just grab the plug, pull it out, and you get access to your bolt down in there. Same thing on the passenger side. Pull the carpet back, and then you can pull your plug out, and then you can get access to your bolt. And it is totally normal for these bolts here to be different left to right. On this side you'll have a 24. On the passenger side you might have a 21. Now we're behind the front seat. If you pull the carpet back and get to the one cab bolt here on the passenger side back. The other one though, we have to remove this tray for. There's a bunch of 8mm bolts that are holding it in along the top of it. We take those out, we take this tray out, and the other bolt will be on the other side behind the seat, and then we take that out, and then the cab's ready to be lifted. Pull the tray out from behind the seat. A little bit of a challenge. Bam, pull this out, just rest it back here, and now we can get access to our final cab bolt, which is here. If you just take this, grab the carpet behind the seat here, pull it back, and then there's our other final cab bolt. Remove your bolt. I'm going to start lifting it. We just go a little bit at a time. We don't want to forget anything, so I'll lift it a little bit like this, walk around it 2 or 3 times and just make sure that I haven't missed anything, then go up a little bit more and do it again. You just want to have a good look around, make sure you haven't missed anything. Okay, we're starting to get a really good gap here now, so I just come in. If you look from this angle down towards the back of your truck, you can see all along your frame down there. See that there's nothing there. Have a look at the front, make sure you got no lines or anything snagging on the front by your radiators. You also want to look down your passenger side here, make sure there's nothing caught, and then come down here underneath your passenger footwell and have another look up along the bottom of the truck and make sure you're not missing anything. So we're starting to get a pretty good gap here. It doesn't look like we have anything that's going to snag or get caught, so let's lift it. That's good, the cab's all the way up. It's a good idea, always let your hoist down onto the locks. Nice and easy with it. And there we go. There's our cab off on this 05 F450. And this covers everything from F250 to F550. This is an 05 model, but like I said, I cover more than enough in this video. If you want to do this yourself, that you can do this for an 03, 04 too, and there's not much differences. Thank you.